Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hatman Strikes Back, Daily Boxing News. How we doing, people? Let me know if you can hear me in the live chat. Who we got in here? Matt Borgerson, big up. Big up KO Talk, WPW, Brannon, Sizzler, yes, Rastafari indeed. That's right, Dreadlocks. User, Askip, Cropper Ting, Star Fox, James, Bowen, Luca, of course, Claridge, Truth Channel. Did I mention Dominica Eustace? Chris Santos in the house, Rich Franklin, Striker, Martin Colton, Rem. We got Daniel. Shout out to Daniel. Ros B. Sammy. We got The Box. Gaz. Shout out to Gaz. Happy birthday for yesterday. That's his 29th. All the best to you and yours, Sizzler. KO Talk. Truth Teller Maxwell. Yes, JR's in the place. ATR. Nathan Sterling. Shout out to Nathan Sterling. Stu the Q. Everyone can hear me loud and clear. You got Hendrick in the place. What's up, people? What's happening? So let's get right into it then. We got some boxing news and topics to get through. First and foremost, I'm going to do it in reverse because normally I start with other stories and then build up to the main story. We'll get right into this from Oleksandr Usyk. He says he will help Anthony Joshua become undisputed. Oleksandr Usyk says that he will help Anthony Joshua become undisputed, and he suggested that it's actually God's plan. That's what he suggested in this interview right here. Any of you guys seen this? It's with Daily Mail Boxing. He suggested it's God's plan that he and AJ fought. Right, that was part of God's plan. He's obviously a very religious man. They fought in 2020, was it 2021, 2022, or 2022, 2023? And then he continued talking about God's plan and said 26, 27, as in 2026, 2027, AJ becomes undisputed, Oleksandr Usyk helps. Now, how many of you guys genuinely believe, and this is obviously some screenshots from the training setup over there. This is actually in Ukraine. Usyk normally trains in Spain, as I understand it. But AJ's been out there with him in Ukraine, and they've been doing some training over there. Usyk's been supervising, overseeing Anthony Joshua's training, giving him pointers. Don't do it like this. Don't do it like that. You know, just polishing him up on some technical things, and also the way he does some of his exercises. How much of a difference will it make? That remains to be seen. But what do you guys make of this? King James says, why is AJ doing this humiliation ritual? No, it's no humiliation ritual, because this is just the way AJ has been his whole career. Big up Matt Borgerson. That's right. Let's hit the like button, please, folks. It really helps. These streams get seen, helps the visibility. We got 111 concurrent viewers, only 37 likes. Let's get the likes up to about 55. We're on 37. So if everyone can take a split second to hit the like button, it'd be much appreciated. No, it's not a humiliation ritual. AJ has always been someone who's in search of a mentor, truth be told. I guess he had a mentor in Rob McCracken, but McCracken could only take him but so far. And since he left McCracken, he hasn't found anybody to replace him. And AJ doesn't trust his own intuition enough to be able to work with the trainers that he's been with so far. He feels like he needs someone that is going to program him. AJ is a robot, folks. He needs to be programmed. He's not an intuitive fighter who can figure things out for himself. He needs to be given step-by-step instructions. And so that's what he's been looking for. People are saying the music is off. As in it's turned off? Or it sounds weird? What do you mean by the music is off? Is the music off to anyone else? Is it on? Does it sound weird? Or do you not hear any music at all? Oh, it's turned off. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I've been having some issues with, hang on, let me try to fix it here. I've been having some issues with OBS. Let me see if I can do this in real time. Is it playing now? Is the music back on? Let me know in the live chat if the music's back on. Still can't hear any music. Okay, it's back now. All right, let's proceed. OBS updated earlier on, and that's why the stream was delayed, and it updated and all the settings were changed, and it was just a big mess. So, yeah, with AJ, he is a robotic thinking individual, or non-thinking. So he needs to be programmed. Is Oleksandr Usyk the professor, the mad scientist that can program this Frankenstein of a fighter to get to Undisputed? Or is it just Oleksandr Usyk being charitable, not just charitable to AJ by opening up his gym for him and or welcoming him into the gym and whatnot, but charitable to the people in his team who are training AJ that are going to get a cut of his purses? I hate to sound cynical, folks, but boxing is a business. And whoever that guy is, what's his name again? The main trainer, Igor, I think, in Usyk's camp. Isaac Bling says, but does that mean Usyk plans on giving up the belts? Well, he said he only plans on having 2 more fights. And if he only plans on having 2 more fights, then yeah, he might give up some of the belts in the meantime, or he might just have those 2 more fights this year and call it a day. Think about it. Well, 2 more fights after Rico. So that's 3 fights, actually. So maybe, yeah, for his final fight, if it's, let's say, Partridge, you know? And is it possible that Usyk could fight AJ again? Let's say AJ beats Partridge. Is Usyk then going to fight AJ? Will AJ even want to fight Usyk? I wouldn't have thought so. I reckon Usyk might even retire at that point or fight Ajit Kabayel. And we're going to come on to Ajit Kabayel a little later on because somebody's called him out. I always have to acknowledge Lawrence Okolie because he called Ajit Kabayel out and nobody seems to acknowledge that. But he has called Kabayel out many times. And now someone else has kind of called out Kabayel too. It's quite interesting. We'll come on to it. That's right, Matt. Those purses are definitely a big purse. That Igor guy will be making some nice money. Dominica says, Igor who? Sounds like a mad scientist name. He was actually in AJ's corner for the Jake Paul fight. Okay, Mr. PK says, Igor Golub is the coach's name. All right. So we've got a fanboy here, Bill Thornton, who's all butthurt. Here's what I can tell you, Bill Thornton. Go get a life, all right? You Partridge fanboys were calling AJ Femi for years. And did you hear AJ fans or even AJ fanboys crying about it? No. Certainly not to the extent that you Partridge fanboys do. So go and get a life, get a grip, grow up. You know what I mean? And this is why we call him Partridge. Because of idiots like you who get upset over something so trivial. That's why we call him Partridge. So we're going to continue. Luke Partridge, Luke Partridge, Luke Partridge. Idiot. And by the way, no, Femi is not his first name. You're a liar. You're an absolute liar. Femi's not his first name. See, this is the thing. This is how contradictory and hypocritical you guys are. You've been saying that Femi's his first name when it's actually not. Femi's his middle name. And that's an abbreviated version of his middle name. But when the same is done for your hero and people call him Luke, you get upset. But hang on, you've been doing the same thing with AJ for years. You've been calling him Femi when his name is Anthony. When people call your guy Luke, now you start throwing your toys out the pram. And get a grip and stop being a hypocrite, idiot. Unbelievable hypocrisy of the Partridge fanboys. Unreal. And yeah, let me actually, let me post this in the live chat here so you guys can go watch it for yourselves. Here is an amateur fight of Luke Partridge. I'm going to post the link in the live chat. Click on it. Here's an amateur fight of Luke Partridge. And there, click that link. At around the 2-minute 50 mark, the commentator, and this is not the first time, the commentator refers to him as Luke Fury. Not Tyson Fury, Luke Fury. That's how the commentator refers to him. If you go back to the Wikipedia page from, I think it was 2007 or 2008, somewhere around there, the Wikipedia page says Luke Fury. And as far as the Partridge name, well, I've never said that I've got any proof that his name is Partridge. I just talked about a BoxRec forum post, or was it Boxing Scene? I think BoxRec, where somebody who had a lot of information about Gypsy John claimed that he knew Gypsy John personally, been around him, and he said the family name was Partridge. I don't have any concrete proof of that, never claimed to have any concrete proof of it, but I do recall Peter Fury in some interview many years ago saying something like they have partridges in the family. That the name Partridge is in the family. Exactly how the name Partridge is in the family, I don't know. But I swear Peter Fury said something like that years ago. Because obviously every family's got multiple surnames in it. And Peter Fury said the name Partridge somehow is in their family. So, yeah, that combined with the BoxRec post, that's where the name Luke Partridge comes from. And, you know, this guy, Bill Thornton, you're such a pathetic little fanboy, right? Again, you guys call Anthony Joshua Femi for years. You don't see the AJ fanboys getting all upset about it. Which just shows how pathetic you are. You're far more pathetic than the AJ fanboys are. Far more pathetic. You're far more pathetic. No. What are you talking about? Believe everything I read. Did I say that it's a fact that his name is Partridge? I never said that, you idiot. I said it's an interesting thing. And it might be true. I can't prove that it's true. It's not that deep. It's just a funny name, Luke Partridge. Dylan White, of course, trained with Luke years ago, long before he fought Klitschko, and he said everybody was calling him Luke. If you click the link, I'm going to put it in the live chat again. If you click the link, not only does Wikipedia have him listed as Luke Fury years ago, loads of newspapers, which I showed in a previous video, called him Luke Fury. This commentator in an amateur fight many years ago when he was fighting a Polish fighter in Poland called him Luke Fury. So what's that all about? Why was everyone calling him Luke Fury then? Please explain that to me. Why were they all calling him Luke Fury? Commentators calling him Luke Fury. The newspapers calling him Luke Fury. What's all that about? No, you haven't seen his birth certificate. That's a lie. Bill Thornton, you're a massive liar. Stop it. You're a massive liar. You've not seen his birth certificate. It's an absolute lie. And again, you're a hypocrite because you call AJ Femi when his first name is not Femi. But when people do the same with your guy, you get upset. What's all that about? What's with the hypocrisy? What is with the hypocrisy? Explain it. Explain yourself. No, it's not on YouTube. Look it up, you idiot. There was some donut who posted something that was purported to be a birth certificate. Birth certificates don't look like that. Anyone can look up a birth certificate from the late 80s and you'll see what it looks like. It's not some printout from the internet. No, a birth certificate looks very different to that. So that's it. Anyway, let's get back to some serious stuff and leave this weird fanboy alone. So anyway, big up Matt Borgerson for the super chat. He says, are you sure it isn't Partridge's alt account? It may be. Vengeance says, I was watching through Peter Fury's interviews as from you listening to while you're sleeping. I found the interview you've mentioned when he mentioned the bloodline of Partridges in the family. Oh, for real? You've found the interview. Please, how do you get that link to me where he says Partridges in the family? Please find a way to get me that link. What is the video called? We need to find that video, get it, download it, before the Partridge fanboys can somehow sabotage it and maybe contact the owner of that channel and tell them to pull the video. We need that damn. We need the name of the video. Put it in the chat. Put the name of the video in the chat. Yeah, please post it in the chat. Just post the name. Just copy and paste the title of the video and put it in the chat. Please. Yeah, this is urgent. So we await the video because that will be clipped and it will go viral all over the place. Yes, copy and paste the title of the video, put it in the chat. So yeah, anyway, back to this AJ thing. How many of you guys think that this can be the greatest comeback in recent heavyweight history? And that Oleksandr Usyk can lead Anthony Joshua to the promised land and become undisputed? Personally, I think there's more chance of... I'm not even going to give the analogy I was about to give. I don't think it's suitable for YouTube. But let's just say, I think there's damn near no chance of Anthony Joshua becoming undisputed again. Ayad says, AJ's jab sounded undisputed again. He has never been undisputed. I mean, undisputed. I think there's no chance of AJ becoming undisputed. Even with Oleksandr Usyk in his corner, telling him this, that, and the other. I think best case scenario for AJ, Usyk can lead him to a victory over Partridge, although, personally, I'm still leaning towards Partridge in that fight. Yeah, at this point, I think Vengeance is actually trolling. KO Talk says AJ is washed, won't win a title, let alone become undisputed. I agree. You know, I think maybe Usyk feels sorry for AJ. And also, he might feel like AJ has underperformed because with those Eastern European guys, they really, really hold Olympic gold medals in very high regard. If you're an Olympic gold medalist, they look at you as somebody with a PhD or something, or somebody with a master's at least. They look at you as a special fighter. And I remember when AJ got flattened by Dubois, Usyk was there and he watched it ringside and he said, I don't know what happened, because he expected AJ to win. So Usyk might see it as a bit of a project to what he sees get AJ to fulfill his potential. But I just don't think AJ has the intuitive ability. I'm not sure about his reflexes anymore, you know, because he didn't have the reflexes to keep up with what Dubois was doing. Shout out to June Sports. Truth Teller says he can definitely win a title. Who against? I mean, theoretically, yeah. If a title becomes available and the opponent is weak enough, maybe AJ can win a title. Yeah, I think for AJ, it's a mental thing. I don't think he's mentally as strong. Certainly not mentally as strong as Usyk or even Partridge for that matter. And I'm not sure the reflexes are there anymore to the extent that they need to be. WPW says Usyk is all about getting his coins these days. Don't blame him. Shout out to Strangingness. Shout out to the Vinyl Collector. Yeah, Vengeance is trolling. So I've put him on timeout. I ain't blocked him. I just put him on timeout. Like, cool it with the trolling. We're trying to have a conversation here. No, he didn't get banned. I didn't ban him. He's just been timed out. That's all. He ain't been banned. Yeah, I know you can't post the link, but I told him many times to just copy and paste the title of the video. Doesn't need to be the link. Just copy and paste the title of the video. Then we can copy and paste that title into the YouTube search box and we'll find the video. I told him that multiple times. He wouldn't do it. And then he said, in the video, Peter says that the shoulder roll was originally known as the partridge roll. So he's obviously trolling. Yeah. He's obviously trolling because Peter never said that. He never said the shoulder roll was the partridge roll. So, yeah, man had to get timed out. He'll be back when the timeout is over. You know, I ain't banned him. Remix the Beat says, I believe he can personally. Depends what AJ turns up, though. I think Usyk or his team will prepare him better at least. The partridge roll. Sounds crazy, innit? Sounds like an English spring roll. An English spring roll. The partridge roll. Wonder if Johnny Bosch Sr. has ever had a partridge roll. Yeah, it does sound like some sort of pastry or some sort of very posh English delicacy, a partridge roll, like beef Wellington. Beef Wellington with a side of partridge rolls. Hey, Ed says, anyone seen Ben complaining that Matchroom didn't get his dad first class tickets? Oh, wow. Eustace says, I did try and ask ChatGPT about Fury mentioning partridge. It gave British boxing videos from 2017, Peter Fury sit down part 1 and 2. Didn't listen to either. Please tell me the actual title of the video if you can, because I'll watch it right after this stream. And we'll get to the bottom of this once and for all. Big up Activistic Intellect. Colpzilla says, Usyk training AJ will just motivate Fury more. It might do. It might do. That's right, King James. I need to be vindicated because I remember him saying that partridge is a name that's in their family. And once that has been, you know, once I have the evidence in my hands, I'm going to go to town on these fanboys. They won't be able to sleep at night. They won't be able to sleep at night. Somebody said it was 2017. A two-parter with Peter Fury on some channel called British Boxers or something. British boxing videos from 2017. That's what the guy says. A sit-down with Peter Fury part 1 and 2. Anyway, let's move on from Big Femi. Training with Oleksandr Usyk. Trying to do the old Rocky Balboa, Apollo Creed story arc. And move on to Moses Itauma. Claiming that Oleksandr Usyk is abusing his power. Now, objectively speaking, you can't make Itauma wrong. Usyk is abusing his power. Fighting Rico Verhoeven? That's an abuse of power. But why some people might not like him coming out talking like this is because he's just a rookie in the game. He hasn't achieved anything close to what Usyk has achieved so far, amateur or pro. And so some people are going to say he's got no right to be calling Usyk out like this saying he's abusing his power. I totally disagree. I think it's the right of any heavyweight contender out there who's watching Rico Verhoeven get a WBC title shot against Usyk to be calling Usyk out. If Verhoeven can get a title shot against Usyk when he's only had one professional boxing match in his whole life, then Itauma has every right to be calling Usyk out. Do you see what I'm saying? Because a guy with less boxing experience than him is actually getting to fight him. So he called Usyk out. He said he's abusing his power. And he didn't say he should be fighting me, as in Itauma. He said he should be fighting his mandatories like Kabayel. And that's where I give Mosley Itauma extra credit. He said Usyk, I'm paraphrasing now, basically, should be fighting Ajit Kabayel instead of this Rico guy. Who can argue with that? Trolzabad says Tommy Partridge is supposedly fighting Eddie Hall. Is that right? Tommy Partridge fighting Eddie Hall. That's a random one. Ayed says, aren't Tommy and Eddie friends? I have no idea. They might be, but then that's right up Tommy's street, innit? Fighting one of his friends who's not even a boxer. JR says, Eddie Hall claims to have the hardest recorded punch. Maybe he does. There is this kind of misperception among a lot of boxing fans that the hardest puncher necessarily must be a great heavyweight champion. Nah, bro. I'm telling you, there are guys out there, journeymen and randoms, who hit harder than Mike Tyson, who hit harder than Lennox Lewis and stuff like that. Yeah. Because it takes a lot more than just tremendous punching power. You have to have reflexes. You have to have ring IQ. You have to have some kind of chin. If you don't have a chin, you better have a great defense and technical ability. You got to have the discipline. You got to have the heart. There are so many attributes you need in boxing more than just power. You need the opportunity to be able to work on your craft and become a professional boxer in the first place. You know, people have got things going on in their lives and all sorts. People choose different paths to become a strongman or to become this or to become that. So I certainly would not expect, let's say, a Mike Tyson to be able to hit as hard as, I don't know, one of these giant strongmen when they load up with all their might and throw a whopping great right hand. I wouldn't expect him to be able to hit as hard as that. But there's a difference hitting hard against a static target and actually hitting hard and landing like that on an opponent in the ring who's moving around and hitting you back. Then it becomes a lot more difficult. Then the power that you can generate on this static target for measuring punching power, you need to be able to generate that kind of power in a split second. When you see an opportunity in a boxing ring, you need to be able to set your feet and generate that power in a split second. If you can't, then that power's not going to be there, is it? Yeah, it's like in basketball, they used to have all these guys who used to do crazy trick shots and all sorts of somersault, slam dunks off trampolines and crazy stuff like that. And more often than not, these were not the best NBA players or even NBA players at all that were doing this kind of thing. I mean, a better example would be maybe the person who can kick a football the hardest in the world. He's probably not going to be the greatest footballer. You know, there's probably some random out there that can kick a football really hard, but there's no accuracy to it. He could just kick it really hard. So yeah, Itauma saying that Usyk abusing his power. And in case any of you guys haven't seen this interview, let me go back to it here. You see this interview on screen, guys? This one right here? In case you haven't seen this interview, Itauma actually basically calls somebody else out. He wants to focus on Jermaine Franklin. If he gets past Franklin, he mentioned the name that he'd like to fight in the summer and then suggested the winner gets a fight with Usyk. Can you guess who he said he'd like to fight in summer if he gets past Jermaine Franklin? Let's see if you guys in the live chat can guess. Who did Itauma mention he'd like to fight in summer if he gets past Franklin? Okay, most people are saying Kabayel. I'm guessing you guys have actually seen this video. Yeah, he said Kabayel. I thought he might have said Hrgovic or somebody like that. No. He said Kabayel. Let's get that Kabayel fight on if I get past Franklin. Winner gets Usyk. Is he clout chasing? Or is he serious? I think it might depend on how well he deals with Franklin. If he just blasts through Franklin like a lot of people are expecting, then maybe he will go after Kabayel, you know? At the end of the day, this is one thing you have to realize about Itauma. He's never lost a fight. He didn't have an enormous number of amateur fights. He only had 20-something. But many of his amateur fights were at a very high level as a junior. He was fighting in international tournaments and winning, obviously, because he never lost a fight. And then he's done his apprenticeship from his teenage years in the gym sparring top pros. So he's never lost a fight. Doesn't know what it feels like to taste defeat. And because of that, because he just keeps winning, and he's been going in there since he was 14, 15, sparring professional cruiserweights and heavyweights who were fighting at championship level and apparently giving him the business. The confidence he has. See, the biggest challenge for Itauma, and he basically says this himself, is keeping his feet on the ground. That's his biggest challenge. He's such a prodigy and he's never tasted defeat. How do you avoid complacency in that situation, you know? How do you avoid becoming overconfident? He has to have people constantly reminding him that he's a human being all the time. But because of his extreme level of confidence and the fact he's never lost a fight, I wouldn't be surprised if he's actually serious about fighting Kabayel. Do you know what I mean? It seems very risky for a guy who's only had 13 fights. Let's say he gets past Franklin 14. Seems very risky to be taking on Kabayel. But maybe he believes in himself that much. I think that Itauma needs rounds. I know it's almost a cliche at this point, but he really needs rounds. Iyad says, has he sparred Kabayel? I've got no idea, actually. I don't know whether he sparred him or not. Oliver says, Nora's Kabayel lost the fight. I'm sure he's lost fights in the amateurs. Excuse me. Getting tongue-tied over here. Because Itauma hasn't lost a fight, amateur or pro. Never, ever lost. I'm going to look up Kabayel's box right now. I'm pretty sure he's lost amateur fights. Let's look Kabayel up. If they have any of his amateur fights here on his box rec page. Ah, they don't, curiously. They do not list any of Kabayel's fights on his box rec page. His amateur fights, that is. Do they have a Wikipedia page on Ajit Kabayel? Can it give us some more background on him there? Here we go. So this is interesting. It doesn't actually list any amateur record for Kabayel on his Wikipedia page. Surely he had an amateur career, didn't he? Or is he another Fabio Wardley that never had any amateur fights, but he's risen all the way up through the pro ranks? That'd be crazy. Does anyone know if Kabayel had an amateur career? Wow. Shout out to Nathan for the super chat, but he retracted the message. Big up Jake Jones. Will I be touching on Conor Benn and his latest comments? I'm not aware of his latest comments. Somebody earlier on in the chat said that he complained that Eddie Hearn didn't get his dad first class tickets, plane tickets or whatever. Oh, wow. Dominica says, from what I remember, Kabayel was a sparring partner and then just turned pro. This is a revelation for me. Big up Eustace. He says, the video is called At Home with Peter Fury Part 1 and Part 2. Okay, let's get to that, guys. And please download those videos in case it is the one where he mentions Partridge, because you can guarantee that those fanboys will be looking to have those videos taken down if they can, because, you know, a lot of these channels are like Partridge fanboy channels, and if they get a request to take down a video, they'll do it just to help the Partridges out. So let's get them videos downloaded, guys, just in case they are the ones. I'm going to try and download one now myself, but if it interferes with the stream, then I'll have to abandon that. But hopefully you guys are downloading, because we cannot let this go. We can't let this go. Yeah, I'm seeing it here, Part 1 and Part 2. Let's get them downloaded. You guys seen it in the live chat there? If you get it downloaded right away, they won't be able to edit that part out. So let's get it downloaded now. Because when you edit something out, it takes a while. It takes several minutes, maybe even an hour or more for YouTube actually to remove it from the video. My usual YouTube video downloader ain't working great here. Eek. Let me try another one. One that's going to do it quick, fast. Even if I have to download it in low quality, I'll do it. Both parts are like nearly an hour long, so it's a lot of listening to do. What is this? Convert MP. Oh, wow. So yeah, apparently Kabayel never boxed as an amateur. That makes his achievement so far as a pro even more remarkable. Somebody's saying he just skipped through those interviews and he doesn't seem to mention Partridge. Okay. I'll download him anyway and have a listen myself. Because I seem to remember, right? Peter Fury mentioned the name Partridge, that there's partridges in his family. Then he kind of chuckled and laughed about it afterwards. Maybe even he finds the name funny. You know what I mean? Okay, somebody is disputing the claim that Kabayel had no amateur career. Austin Spear said Ajit did have an amateur career, but it was not long. No medals, only club local fighters. All right. So here is Itauma, of course, calling out Mr. Kabayel for a fight in summer if he gets past Jermaine Franklin. If Itauma gets past Jermaine Franklin, that is. Okay, Cubby Barnes says Kabayel's involvement in amateur boxing was minimal, with no formal recorded amateur career, as he turned professional shortly after starting training. Someone says Peter Partridge is absolutely diabolical. That's a fact. Peter Partridge is crazy. And pretty much anything with Partridge is crazy, right? Peter Partridge, Huey Partridge, Gypsy John Partridge, Luke Partridge, Paris Partridge. Yo, if you put any of their names with Partridge after it, diabolical. Strangeness says Luke Nandrolone Partridge, Roman Partridge, Vegas Partridge, Bambi Partridge. Cobzilla says Netflix at Home with the Partridges doesn't have the same ring to it. Elmore says Kabayel was a kickboxer. Oh, is that right? Let me have a quick search here. Ajit Kabayel. So he's like similar to Dylan White in that sense. Because Dylan White was a kickboxer. Nothing comes up when I search online, but maybe the information is really hard to come by. I don't know. Let me try Ajit Kabayel amateur career. So the Google AI is saying Ajit Kabayel built a solid foundation in Germany with a disciplined amateur career Well, specific amateur record numbers are rarely highlighted. Okay, well, that didn't tell us much. So there's no real information that I can find just doing a quick search about any amateur career for Ajit Kabayel. So if he did have an amateur career, it obviously was pretty limited and low-key because there's no records of it. In the first couple of pages anyway, doing an internet search. Somebody says Muhammad Ali was a kickboxer as well. I've never heard that in my life. where have you heard that Muhammad Ali was a kickboxer? Kickboxing wasn't even a thing back then in the United States. Since when was Muhammad Ali a kickboxer? No. Yeah, Povetkin was a kickboxer. That is actually true. And watch out for edits in that Peter Fury video in case one of these Partridge fanboys has already got to the owner of that channel. Because the owner of that channel, I think, is some kind of Fury fanboy anyway. So if he's already been contacted and he's quickly edited the part out, then we're going to miss out. Scott says Ricky Hatton was a kickboxer too. Yeah, that's right. Ali learned to box because he wanted to beat up somebody that stole his bike. It was actually a policeman, a local policeman, that found a young Cassius Clay, as he was then, really upset, storming around, threatening to whoop somebody. And the policeman told him, and the policeman was either the owner of a boxing gym or he had something to do with a boxing gym. I think it might have been above the police station. Don't quote me, but he was somehow connected to this boxing gym, this policeman. And the policeman, rather than saying, don't go around punching people, it was a different time back then. The policeman instead said to a young Cassius Clay, you better learn how to fight before you start challenging people that you say you're going to whoop. You better learn how to fight first before you start talking about beating people up. Shout out to Adam Fawkes for the super chat. Prime Shane Mosley versus Shakur Stevenson. Shakur Stevenson all day long. Shakur Stevenson is just so technically good. I don't see even a... And Prime Mosley was fantastic at lightweight. Powerful, fast, and all that kind of stuff. But Stevenson is just so technically immaculate. I have to pick him. Don't get it twisted. I think Prime Mosley would have done a lot better than Teofimo Lopez, but I still don't see him beating Stevenson. Yeah, I think Stevenson's that good. Shout out to Adam Fawkes for the super chat. But maybe you disagree, Adam. Maybe you think that Prime Mosley's underrated and would get to Stevenson somehow. James Bowering says, why has kickboxing never taken off as a mainstream sport, more entertaining than MMA? Well, I think it has, well, I know it has kind of been a mainstream sport in other countries. In France, it was pretty big, right? I think Belgium as well. Obviously, Muay Thai is a form of kickboxing in Thailand. It's big there. But in the Anglosphere, yeah, it's never really taken off. Maybe it's just because the tradition isn't there, you know? Professional boxing, Queensberry Rules was able to get a foothold because of the tradition. Because it was around for so long, obviously in the United States and in the UK and what have you. Obviously it originated in the UK, Queensberry Rules. Adam Falk says, I think I'd pick Stevenson as well, but Mosley's offense would give him an interesting challenge. Yeah, Holland, I forgot to mention Holland. Yeah, kickboxing was always big in Holland too. You had so many kickboxers out of there. Remy Bajanski, people like that. And of course, this Rico guy's also Dutch, isn't he? Rico Verhoeven, or Verhoeven. People always get at me in the comments for mispronouncing his name. Like I'm supposed to be a kickboxing expert or something. I don't know nothing about kickboxing. Yeah, Alistair Overeem, I remember him too. He went over to UFC, didn't he? Later on in his career. And obviously, Bas Rutten started out as a kickboxer. Bas Rutten crazy as hell. Strangler says Rico Dutch Oven. Yeah, Ernest Hoost, I remember him. I remember seeing him even in K1. All right, so I've downloaded part 1 and part 2. I'm going to be keeping an eagle eye out for any edits. I mean, maybe they've beat us to the punch. Maybe they know the name Partridge was mentioned at some point and contacted the guy who owns the channel and got him to edit those parts out months ago, for all we know. We might be too late. But I will have a look. Dominica says, I think that's happened. And if that has happened, it just shows how desperate the Partridge fanboys are, isn't it? I mean, why is it even a big deal? Do you know what I mean? It's like I mentioned to that idiot earlier on. When the Partridge fanboys kept calling AJ Femi, you never saw some big uproar and upset from the AJ fanboys. And AJ's got fanboys, right? But you never saw them getting bent out of shape and... No, they were just like, okay, whatever. Call him Femi if you want. That's not his actual first name. But if you insist on calling him out, like, whatever. That is the attitude that any reasonable person would have to somebody calling their boxer by their middle name, their favorite boxer by their middle name rather than their first name. If it is indeed the real middle name of the boxer also known as Tyson Fury. Yeah, banter is strictly prohibited. Banter, these people have no problem calling AJ Femi. But if you dare to call their guy Luke, oh my God, they lose their minds. Fernie G says, what forensics are you doing, Hatman? I'm late to the live stream. So, somebody used ChatGPT to find out if the name Partridge was mentioned in any Peter Fury interviews. And ChatGPT came up with a 2-part interview from 2017. And that sounds about the right kind of time frame for when he would have mentioned the name Partridge. Because I definitely saw an interview back in the days where he said he's got partridges in the family. And so I found the 2-part interview, but it's whether or not that part has been edited out, because the channel that the interview's on is basically a Fury fanboy channel. It's one of these people that was really close to the Fury family, and they did like a million. At one point, their whole channel was just dedicated to the Furies, basically. Just doing constant Fury interviews, left, right, and center. Partridge interviews, left, right, and center. So, given the nature of that channel, they could very easily have just contacted, somebody from the Partridge team could have very easily contacted him and told him, look, do you want to edit out the part where Peter talks about Partridge in our family? Just do us that favor. And the guy would do it no problem for them. Do you know what I mean? He's a big Partridge supporter. Television says, big up Hatman, did you give Tyson any rounds in the Holyfield fights? I can't remember, maybe a couple, possibly, but not many. Because he really got weighed in the Holyfield fights. I mean, he threw some dangerous shots back, but there was certainly no round in either fight where... Well, actually, tell a lie. You could maybe give Tyson the first round in the first fight, maybe? Because Holyfield did get him towards the end of the round, but Tyson landed his own big shots. So maybe you give Tyson the first round, but I have to go back and watch particularly the first fight again. In the second fight, he didn't win any of the rounds, right? But in the first fight, I don't know, maybe he might have picked up a round or two there. Shout out to Adam Folks for the super chat. He says, do you suspect the Partridge family has got wind of your Luke Partridge movement? 100% yes. 100%. Because they're just that petty. So I've got no doubt they've got wind of it. I'm going to go through part 1 and part 2. They're over 40 minutes long each. Over 45 minutes long each. I'm going to go through both of them with a fine-tooth comb. I'm going to try and see if there's any edits in there. If there isn't, and I find the part where he says Partridge. Boy, are we gonna go to town if I find that bit, boy. Lucas says it's not in part 1. Okay. Telstar says, is it bizarre that apparently Big John's birth wasn't registered in Galway? Well, here's the very interesting thing about Big John. If you go check his box rec from years ago, he was listed as being born in the UK, somewhere down south. I'm not sure if it was Suffolk or it was some small town down south. That's where he was listed as being born. But then many years later, they've updated his birthplace to Galway in Ireland. Well, if his birthplace was always Galway, then where did this British birthplace come from? You know? What I can tell you is that travelers of Gypsy John's generation, many of them didn't have birth certificates. So that's not particularly unusual. Yeah, their births were often not registered. That's not unusual for travelers of his generation. Shout out to Ocean Blue. He says, just joined and I hear Partridge. What have I missed? Shout out to Typhon. Big up, big up. Encircled says, if he was called Luke Partridge in the ring, Wilder would 100% have chinned him. That's a whole fact. Shout out to Gordon Dalgleish. Good to have you on board. James says, Tommy Partridge is fighting Eddie Hall. Yeah, somebody mentioned that earlier on. That's a strange fight. Indeed, they do seem to be buddies. I remember there was some little documentary video thing where Tommy and Eddie Hall worked out together. Didn't they do like a thing where they swapped each other's training routines or something around and diets? I can't remember what it was now. But they're like buddies and now they're going to fight. It's okay. So Tommy basically pees himself over the Scouser. Why have I forgotten his name now? The Scouse, former UFC fighter, who's also going after Carl Froch. He bottled it against him, and now he wants to fight one of his mates instead. Okay. Darren Till, thank you, Ocean Blue. Darren Till. Have I seen a timer on Jamie Lang? No, I haven't. Adam Falk says, Luke Partridge sounds like someone who showers in gravy. I think, as somebody else suggested in a previous stream, it sounds like a greengrocer from the West Country. You know, from like Cornwall or Devon or something, where they all talk like farmers and they talk like hobbits from Lord of the Rings. It sounds like a greengrocer from the West Country. Old Luke Partridge. That'll be down the road where the partridges live. Luke Partridge. He's a greengrocer. You know, Hagrid from Harry Potter, the accent that he's got, that West Country accent. Luke Partridge. He grows some cracking turnips, he does. Luke Partridge. Cracking turnips. Yeah, Somerset accent. A shout out to Gaz for the super chat. Sorry, I missed yours. Your last super chat there. Gaz says, are you hyped or interested in Scary Movie 6? I can't say I am. No. I was never a fan of the original Scary Movies. So yeah, I'm not really looking forward to Scary Movie 6. I guess you are, since you're asking about it. I remember when the first Scary Movie came out, and there was that advert on television where you got a guy in a Halloween mask, Scary Movie mask, on the phone to his friends talking about, what's that? Remember that annoying advert? And everyone started doing it. Literally everyone started copying it, going, what's that? Maybe I'm showing my age. Anza Steele says it was a Budweiser advert. Bud Light, okay. Goguga says it sounds like Alan Partridge with a lightsaber. Luke Partridge. And the wildest thing is, right? Check this out. In fact, let me not even mention that. I'll hold that back. GMS Nightmare says, how does Moses match up against Partridge? It's really hard to say because we haven't seen Moses extended against anyone with a pulse, right? Very early on in his career, he went the distance. I think he went 4 rounds or something with some journeyman. I think it actually was that Ukrainian journeyman that's never been stopped. But we've never seen him, and I think he actually broke his hand in that fight, but we've never seen him extended the distance against a top 10 guy or even late in a fight to see him tested in any way. So to make a prediction for Itauma versus Partridge, you're really just going in blind. What I will tell you though is if Itauma has got a chin and he's got stamina and he's got heart, and those are 3 big ifs because we don't know. So I don't want anyone to misrepresent what I'm about to say. But if he's got a chin and he's got stamina and he's got heart, I think he beats Partridge now. Yeah, but those are 3 big ifs. Because I look at the speed. He's faster than Usyk. He's not as skilled as Usyk, but he's faster. And the in and out attack that he does is something that Usyk doesn't really do, and he doesn't do it as well, at least. Usyk will step around. He won't really bounce in and out in the middle of a exchange. When he does bounce out, it's a slight bounce. It's a subtle bounce. He's not bouncing all the way out like Itauma does. And maybe you could say with Itauma, it's maybe a bit of wasted energy. But if you think about it, Itauma bounces all the way out and then bounces back in so quickly that even though it's wasted energy, it might actually confuse the opponent, you know? Because he comes in, he lands a big shot, he automatically bounces out to avoid any counters. The opponent looks at him and thinks, okay, he's far away from me. I've got a few seconds here. They're not thinking about countering because he's got out of the way. Then he jumps back on him in a split second. He hits him again and they weren't going to counter because they're only thinking about defense, because you get the picture. Yeah, the closing speed, as Encircled said there, of Itauma is insane. As great as Usyk is, as technically immaculate as he is, he doesn't have the foot speed of Itauma. He doesn't have the hand speed of Itauma. Who does? Itauma's speed is crazy, folks. When Carl Frampton got ripped to shreds for saying that Itauma has the fastest hands of any heavyweight since Mike Tyson, I don't understand it. Because he's definitely at least in the top 3 or 4 fastest handed heavyweights since Tyson, definitely. The other guys I can think of would be a prime Shannon Briggs, Andy Ruiz. Is Corey Saunders had really fast hands? David Tua when he was in full flow. But I'm not even sure any of those guys have faster hands than Itauma, to be honest with you. I think Itauma might have faster hands than all of them. So I don't think it's Carl Frampton didn't say that Itauma has faster hands than a prime Tyson. He didn't say that. He said he has the fastest hands since Tyson. So you could word it another way and say he's like the second fastest heavyweight of the past 35, 40 years after Tyson in terms of hand speed. Danny says Usyk AJ1 was faster than Itauma. I totally disagree. Usyk has never been, in terms of hand speed, faster than Itauma. Never. There's no fight where you can see Usyk in full flow with his punches where he's faster than Itauma when Itauma's in full flow. And to put it in context, Itauma wasn't in full flow when he let rip on Dylan White. There's an earlier fight of Itauma when he was fighting some journeyman. You know when Itauma still had his hair plaited? And he pins this journeyman in the corner and he lets loose with a salvo of shots, and it was so ridiculously fast. I was like, God damn it all. That's crazy. Danny says foot speed. I don't even think Usyk's foot speed was ever faster than Itauma's. What I would say is that Usyk's foot movement was more consistent. Itauma doesn't move as much as Usyk. Usyk back then was constantly moving. Like when he fought AJ the first time, the movement was non-stop. Itauma doesn't move non-stop. Itauma will stand kind of flat-footed. He'll bide his time on the outside. He'll shuffle here, shuffle there. Then he'll make sudden, fast moves. So, yeah, he doesn't move as consistently as Usyk does at all. He's a much bigger guy. But I'm talking, when I say bigger guy, in terms of body mass, naturally, he's much bigger. So, comparing Itauma to Usyk in terms of the foot speed or footwork is almost like comparing a sprinter to a marathon runner. A sprinter is like short, fast bursts of speed. Whereas a marathon runner, it's like constant movement for a long time. And that's what Usyk's footwork is like, or was like back then. He could move constantly for 12 rounds. We don't know whether Itauma can do that. He hasn't demonstrated the ability to move constantly. And with him, it's just sudden bursts of foot speed and hand speed. He goes up and down through the gears all the time, Itauma. So Mwensheng says, boxing fans have a very idealistic view of older fighters and hate when you compare modern fighters to older fighters like it is sacrilege or something. It's so ridiculous. And they've always done this. Like when Mike Tyson came on the scene, as revered as Mike Tyson is today, back when he was fighting and people were saying that they think you could beat Joe Frazier and Muhammad Ali and he hits harder than George Foreman, and people were saying all this stuff about them. And the old boxing fans and even the old boxing journalists were constantly bashing him. And they were saying Ali would have played with him and Joe Frazier would have knocked him out. And especially the journalists of Ali's era, they fell in love with him to such an extent that when Mike Tyson came along and people were saying that Tyson would have beaten Ali, it was a sacrilegious thing. You know, he wouldn't have even beaten Frazier. People were saying ridiculous things about Mike Tyson. I'm talking about his critics. He would have had a hard time with Jerry Quarry. People were saying crazy stuff like that, you know? People love the rose-tinted glasses, you know? So I do want to pick up on something that Gabe Rosado said. Shout out to Glum Coyote. He says, the mix of apparent laziness and mad speed is quite stunning with Itauma. Yeah, that's an interesting comment. So Itauma has a very, very nonchalant, laid back, even stoner-like demeanor. You know, it's as if this guy is like blazing ganja half the time, the kind of demeanor he has. He's so like nonchalant and he's got this monotone way of speaking, no enthusiasm in his voice. It is weird for a guy to come across like that in interviews. But then in the ring, he's all explosive and sharp, and it is this weird contrast, isn't it? Shout out to Glum Coyote for the super chat. I know exactly what you're talking about. But I think that, you know, because you fight the way your personality is. And Itauma is a guy who's naturally laid back, but he has a switch, you know? He has some kind of rage bubbling underneath the surface. And he can go from 0 to 100 real quick. He can go from that relaxed, chilled state to a spiteful, vicious state quickly. And that's the way he fights in the ring. He comes out, he's cool, calm, and collected. He's just boxing his way into the fight. But when he finds his opportunity, he opens up on you. And, yeah, it's a sight to behold. Shout out to Glum Coyote. Shout out to Gaz. He says, who are your top 5 fighters to watch of all time? Okay. Top 5 fighters to watch of all time. Mike Tyson is definitely there. Without a shadow of a doubt, Mike Tyson is there. So I'm going to say Mike Tyson, Tommy Hearns. I'll put Prince Nassim in there. Roy Jones. There are so many fighters I love to watch over the years. I'm going to struggle to pick a 5th. Who do I want to put in there as number 5? Because Holyfield is someone I used to love watching. Usyk would be in my probably top 10 in terms of fighters I love to watch. Yeah, my first 4 were easy enough, but the 5th, because there are just so many people I could put in that position. I'll go Foreman. I'll go George Foreman. Shout out to Gaz. Great question. Hazaroff says Alex Pereira versus Cyril Gane. Who you got? I don't know. MMA well enough to give you a winner in that fight. I know both fighters, obviously. Both guys kickboxers. Pereira obviously had the rivalry with Izzy, and Cyril Gane fought in Ngannou, and he's the guy responsible for damaging Tom Aspinall's eyes. But I'm not well versed enough to be able to make a prediction in that fight. What do you think, though? Nah, Gatti was never one of my favorite fighters, to be honest. Someone says Lennox Lewis. Lennox Lewis might be in my top 10, maybe top 15 in terms of my favorite fighters to watch. If you're talking about greatest heavyweights of all time, he'd obviously be much higher up the list. But in terms of favorite fighters to watch, Lewis might be in my top 10, top 15 in terms of all weight classes. Yeah, completely agree with Encircled. Lewis was hot and cold when it comes to how good his fights were. Yeah. Because he had some scintillating performances, like when he knocked out Razor Ruddock, his amazing slugfest with Vitaly Klitschko. He had a good fight with Frank Bruno. That was an entertaining fight. But then you get soporific fights, like when he fought David Tua. You know, that was a very good technical display, but it was a boring fight. And various others. So it was a mixed bag with Lennox Lewis. The Mercer fight was good. It was impressive when he starched Galotta in one round, or when he knocked out Francois Botha in two, or even Michael Grant. But then there were other fights which were like, meh. I mean, the Tony Tucker fight was pretty boring, other than maybe 3 rounds in the fight that were entertaining. The rest of it was pretty dull. And Circle says he had a bit of a Vlad issue sometimes. He'd have a dead man in front of him and just wouldn't finish. Although nowhere as extreme as Vlad. With Vlad, it was crazy at times. With Lennox Lewis, the only time he really did that was against Tua, and Tua had an iron jaw. And Manny Stewart was like imploring him to finish Tua off. And Lewis didn't want to do it. Other than that, he usually did go if there was an opportunity. I mean, he didn't really, in the first fight, go for it against Holyfield. In the second fight, he maybe tried a bit more to get a stoppage against Holyfield. But again, Holyfield not an easy guy to stop. He had that horrible fight with Akinwande, but Akinwande just held and held and held and held and held, and there's nothing he could do. So with Lewis, especially pre-McCall, there was a laziness about him. And even post-McCall in some fights, there was a laziness about him in the ring. He would treat fights sometimes like sparring sessions, you know? Because Lennox Lewis was a very, very laid-back character. Yeah, the Mike Tyson one is a good example. Yeah, he could have taken Mike Tyson out earlier, but held back. Yeah, that's where Manny Stewart was really shouting at him in the corner. He said, he ain't got nothing. Go out there and take it to him. Yeah, that's absolutely an example of what you're talking about. In the Mike Tyson fight, he wouldn't take it to Tyson when Tyson was completely finished. I mean, he really could have taken Tyson out in 3 rounds if he'd really gone for it. But the mystique of Mike Tyson was so great, even when he was washed up, that Lewis didn't dare do it, did he? Until much later on in the fight. Yeah, that's right. Lennox Lewis used to take a nap in the dressing room before his fights, or before many of his fights. That's how relaxed he was. WPW says, random one, did you enjoy taking the tube when you used to live in London? Only as a kid when I first arrived in London. I mean, the tube's infinitely better than taking buses. But, you know, if you've grown up in London your whole life, or most of your life, the novelty wears off, doesn't it? So... I mean, the tube is all right. The bit that sucks about the tube is when it's busy and you're crammed into the carriages like sardines in a tin. That's no fun. When there's no seat and it's crammed and you're knackered. Or even sometimes in certain stations, they're extremely deep underground and maybe the lift ain't working. Or there's so many people that you got to take the stairs and the stairs are mad long. I think the longest flight of stairs, don't quote me on this, in the London Underground might be, is it Elephant and Castle? They've got a spiral staircase, or they used to have anyway, in Elephant and Castle that was crazy long. Like unbelievably long staircase. See, it's definitely one of those stations near the end of the Bakerloo line. Either Lambeth North, or was it, I think it was Elephant and Castle, but it was extremely long spiral staircase. Crazy. Although one of those Jubilee line stations might be deeper underground than Elephant and Castle, I'm not sure, but they don't have a spiral staircase. And they've got escalators and whatnot. In Circle says, busy in summer is just pure hell. Yeah, like Central Line in the summer, if you're going anywhere near Oxford Street or anywhere like that, it's just the absolute sweatbox and it's horrible. Johnny Gaffer says, yeah, that's Elephant. And that's a hell of a slog. You know, if the lifts ain't working or there's just too many people around and you have to go up that spiral staircase, yeah, your legs will feel it by the time you get to the top. Little Jacob says they still have that staircase in Elephant. It's like a subterranean base down there. Glom Coyote says, during the summer, most Western capitals are a nightmare. Yeah, some of the American cities are a bit better because they're newer. They're a bit more user-friendly. Yeah, a lot of people say Itauma looks like he's in his 30s. I don't see it at all. To me, he looks like a guy that's in his early 20s. Maybe it's because he's got this really low-key demeanor. I don't know what it is that makes people think he looks old, but loads of people say it. But personally, I don't see it at all. And on that, here's a picture of him as an amateur when he was a kid with his brother. Let me show you this picture here, which I just found earlier on today. In fact, can we drag this in? I don't know which year this picture was taken. Just preparing it for you guys. Now have a look at that picture there. That's Itauma as an amateur with his brother, Carol Itauma. And if you've seen this picture before, somehow his skin is darker than it is now. So maybe he'd been in the sun when he was a kid. Because he's a couple shades darker there as a youngster. Had he just been on holiday somewhere? So he's got England boxing gloves around his neck. That might give some indication as to when this was. I don't know. So he's certainly not in his 30s anyway. I don't know why it's people keep insisting that he is, but there you go. WPW says, looks like he's in his 20s, but his hairline in his 30s. Yeah, I don't think he has a receding hairline. I just think his hairline is naturally far back. I don't think it's a receding thing. It's just some people have a hairline that's far back. Yeah, weather will lighten your skin tone, but it's not like Itauma was coming from a hot country. He was coming from Slovakia. So yeah, he must have been on. But then, if he was on holiday, his brother Carol in this picture is clearly lighter than him. So Itauma must have gone on holiday by himself or something. I don't know. Someone says it could just be the lighting. Oh man, Itauma is very, very, very light-skinned. And I don't know. I don't think it's. I guess it's possible, but I reckon he's got a tan here somehow. Matt Borgerson says, do you think he probably has a bad chin like his brother, since people say bad chins are genetic? I don't think bad chins are genetic. Not to blow my brother up, but he never had a good chin, and I always had a pretty good chin. Vitaly Klitschko had a good chin, and Vladimir didn't have a good chin, etc., etc. So I don't think it's, because I don't think if one brother has a bad chin, all the rest of the brothers are gonna. I don't think so. And Circle just mentioned it there. Vlad had a poor chin, Vitaly had a great chin. Evil Uncle Phil says, how much of having a good chin is mental, though? To me, it seems more mental than physical. I think it's more physical than mental, but there is a mental aspect to it. For example, if you take a skinny 140-pound fighter who's skinny, you wouldn't expect that they'll be able to take the same kind of punch as, a hefty 250-pound heavyweight, would you? You would expect if you hit that 145-pound beanpole with a heavyweight punch, he's going to sleep. Or if you hit the heavyweight with the same punch, you might be able to take it. So I do think that it's more physical than mental, but mental plays a substantial part in it. Yeah. It plays a substantial part in it. Yeah, I don't just think the mental is the recovery. I think recovery rate is part of what mental does, yes. But if you fear taking a punch, and if you imagine that when you get hit on the chin, you're going to go, then you probably will go. It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy, you know? Your body is going to react the way that you think it's going to react. Whereas if you have a more stubborn mindset and mentality towards being hit, like nothing can touch me, I can't be hurt, then when you get hit, those defiant thoughts are going to assist the way your body reacts to some extent. But primarily, I think that the biggest factor is the physical. I just think the way some people are constructed, the way their nerves are laid out in the body and the face, the way their brain is, you know, their neurology. Some people just naturally, physically can take a better shot than others. But there definitely is a not insignificant psychological component to it as well. Star Fox says, I think Jarrell Miller's ego is all in his chin. I think Miller's a good example of what I was just describing. Miller is so full of himself and so egotistical. I mean, I couldn't have put it better than what you said. His ego's all in his chin. I do think that Miller's ego helps him take a shot. Because when he's getting hit by these big heavyweights, in his head he's thinking, you're a bum. How dare you hit me? You don't hit hard. He convinces himself that these guys don't hit hard. Even after the Dubois fight, when he got stopped, he kept saying, Dubois don't hit hard. So yes, Miller's ego's in his chin. That's right. That's a great example, actually. Matt Borgerson, big up for the super chat. He says, who had a worse chin? Khan, Price, Morrison, or Mugabe? That's a real tough question. It's gotta be between Khan and Price. I'm going to go Price. And the reason I've went Price rather than Khan is because Price was getting chinned by people that were smaller than him. You know? At least Khan only ever got chinned by people his own size or bigger. And he managed to come through hellacious attacks from Marcos Maidana. We can never forget that. Yeah. I confidently picked Khan to win that fight. On my old channel, that was one of the first predictions I ever made, is I picked Khan to beat Maidana confidently. I was actually surprised by how much of a life and death struggle it ended up being for Khan. I thought he'd win a bit more cleanly. He took, in that 10th round, I think it was, a hell of a shellacking. Miraculously, he came through because Maidana was a terrific puncher. So I'd say Price. What about you though, Matt? Who would you pick as the chinniest guy on that list? And Circle says, the thing is, Khan fought like he had no idea he had a bad chin. Matt says, he's not on my list, but Curtis Harper. Yeah, he just got knocked out the other day. Shout out to Matt Jukes. Big up D-Man. He says, what do you think of AJ's jab work with Usyk? The jab was powerful and fast and very snappy. But AJ's always been a great athlete. You know, he's always looked good hitting pads and hitting the punch bag. He's always looked good doing those things. So we have to see how he looks in the ring. He's coming off that terrible car accident. And the effects of that are not to be underestimated. James Barron says, I'll never forget Price on the Sky Sports team in his giant suit. And people did like a Photoshop version of that, where they shrunk Price's head to make the suit look even bigger. You guys remember that picture that was doing the rounds? He looked like something out of Beetlejuice. In Circle says, if you gave Khan an iron jaw, do you think he would have been an all-time great? Yeah, probably. He had the heart, he had the speed. He didn't have particularly heavy hands, but because of his speed, he was able to drop a lot of people early. Because he just hit you with shots that were so fast you wouldn't see him. Khan actually had an uncanny knack of doing that, didn't he? Of dropping people early in fights. He dropped Maidana early. He dropped Lamont Peterson early. And a load of other guys. He kept dropping people early in the fight, but then wouldn't finish them off. And I tell you what, Maidana did very well to get up after that body shot because it folded him in half. The pain that Maidana was feeling, I mean, he was grimacing, rolling around on the canvas like that body shot messed him up. That's probably the best, well, definitely the best body shot Khan ever landed in his career. He caught Maidana in absolutely the sweet spot. Folded him. Do you remember that fight, Matt? When Khan fought Maidana? What were you thinking in the first round when Khan dropped him? Were you shocked? Desi says Khan was super twitchy, even his chin. Do I think Khan was faster than Naseem Hamed? Well, they're very different weight classes, so pound for pound, Khan was faster than Hamed, yeah, but you know, Hamed was a featherweight. Khan was like really a 140 pounder. He eventually moved up to 147. And what weight did he fight Canelo at? Was it actually middleweight or was it the catch weight? I forget now. I think it was actually middleweight. So pound for pound, I'd say Khan was faster. But if you actually put a prime Naseem and a prime Khan next to each other and got them to throw their fastest combination on the bag, maybe Naseem would be able to punch faster. Do you know what I mean? But relative to the opponents in their weight class, Khan's speed advantage was greater than Prince Naseem's speed advantage over his opponents, if that makes sense. Matt says, yeah, I was, and I thought it was over, but Khan's always made it seem like he would lose at any moment by brutal KO. That's a fact. Matt Duke says he was incredible against Devin Alexander. Yeah, he was. Khan did a very good job. He beat Alexander really better than anybody. Shout out to Matt Borgerson for the super chat. He says, Breeders Prescott is fighting on Pro Box in May. Oh, tell me he's not. Malinaji was bigging up Pro Box the other day and acting like their shows are so much better than Zuffa. And now you're telling me that Prescott is fighting on a Pro Box show? Oh my God. Why is he even allowed to box now? Bradis Prescott, like, give it a rest. Matt says he fought in November. Oh dear. Yeah, I can't believe he still fights. That's crazy. I guess he hasn't made a lot of money in his career. Bradis Prescott, unbelievable. Matt says, didn't Mayweather tell him beat Alexander and he will fight him? He might have told him that because he was trolling Khan for years, wasn't he? Acted like he was going to fight him and then not fighting him. Wow, Encircled says he's lost 11 of his last 12. Crazy work. Yeah, Khan always looked good against southpaws. For whatever reason, he just had a knack. Maybe it's because of the extremely fast straight right hand that he has. Maybe he just naturally circles to his... No, because Khan... Most orthodox fighters naturally circle to their left, which is away from a southpaw left anyway. So I don't know. But Khan found a way of just neutralizing southpaws better than most. Wow. Matt says Prescott is 32-27 now. Jeez. So he's closing in on having more losses than wins. Damn. So McNocta says, why is it taking Bricktop so long to get Itauma a real opponent? Well, he's so young. The past few opponents, to be fair, for a heavyweight prospect, were pretty reasonable for that stage of the career, you know? A Dylan White, a Dempsey McKean. For your 12th, 13th, 14th, for your 11th, 12th, 13th fight, they're decent opponents. So after he's fought those guys, now they're like, okay, let's step him up. They're putting him in against Franklin. Now, Franklin isn't a great fighter, but he's proven to be more durable than the guys that Itauma's just fought. I don't really have an issue with the level of opponent Itauma's fighting. The only issue I have is with the inactivity. Very, very inactive. Now, Frank Warren is claiming it's because of injuries. It might be. But you also wonder whether the fallout between Warren and Turki Al-Sheikh has something to do with it as well. Omar says, what's your thoughts on spuds with cheese and beans? I want to try it because I see it on TikTok. Do you live in the I assume because you're using the word spuds, you live in the UK. I wasn't aware that there's anyone in the UK that hasn't eaten that. I mean, what were they serving you in primary school? You know what I mean? Like, how's in primary school is like standard procedure. You would get, you know, baked potatoes with beans and sprinkling of cheese. Standard thing, bro. Did you grow up in Britain? Oh, you don't live in the UK. Okay. I thought you might because you used the word spuds. That's a word that people only use in Britain. Yeah. Baked potato, jacket potato with cheese and beans is like a ubiquitous thing in the UK. It's like something that damn near everyone that grew up in the UK has eaten many times. And yeah, it's all right. It's quite nice. Matt says it's disgusting. And even in Circle doesn't like it. Okay. I like it, personally. Truth Channel likes it. The box says I used to like tuna on mine. Yeah, tuna's also a good choice. Team Batman Boxing likes it. D-Man says, what is your favorite Nigerian food? I'm about to try some this weekend. So jollof rice, obviously, and hopefully the chef makes you good jollof rice. I don't know the names of all the dishes, but all of their most of their stews are red. But there's a particular Nigerian stew they do with like beef in it, and it has maybe some cow foot in it and stuff like that. Some kind of mixed stew. I like that. I like the way they cook gizzard. It's kind of like stick meat, but rather than the other meats they use gizzard from a chicken. So I like the way they make gizzard with jollof rice. I actually like moi moi, which is made from some kind of beans. I like the way they make their spinach stew, but again, I don't. Is it because there are so many different types of spinach stew or soup? Egusi soup, I think, has spinach in it, but there's other types. Matt says, how did your stomach adjust to the food? Did you have runs for days? Not at all, no. No problems at all. Which part of Africa did you go to? You had cassava now? Well, cassava is something that we eat in the Caribbean as well, so I had no issue with cassava. The box says, I went to a Nigerian spot and kept it simple with jollof rice and chicken with stew, and it slapped better than any Caribbean food shops I've been to, and I'm Jamaican. Yeah, most of the Caribbean food shops these days are pretty shabby. Yeah, the customer service is poor. The attitude of the people that work there is poor. They're not really trying to make great food. You know, they're just trying to make money. Everyone's trying to make money, but if you really put some heart and soul into the quality of your food, it's going to help you. So they just have a bad attitude in them Caribbean takeaways, man. Yeah, always rude and just, nah, man, not for me. Matt says, I went Sierra Leone on a humanitarian retreat. Well, yes, in West Africa, the food tends to be extremely spicy hot. So if you're not used to food which is that spicy, then you're going to have problems. In other parts of Africa, the food is very, very different. So in East Africa, like Uganda, for example, the food is very mild, borderline bland. Same goes for Zimbabwe, even in Zambia. Like the food here is not like really spicy and all that. It's quite mild, and to a lot of West Africans and even people from India and places like that, they would probably find the food in places like Zimbabwe, Zambia, Uganda very bland because they don't really use spice, you know, hot pepper and stuff like that. It's very, very different to West African food. So if you're someone that has, you know, a not particularly tolerant palate, then you'd find it a lot easier eating Ugandan food, Zimbabwean food, Zambian food, because it's not very spicy. Whereas West African food, they turn the Scoville units up to maximum. They put so much hot pepper in their food, it'll blow your socks off. Fernie G says, no food is below praise and no food is above criticism. D-Man says, Akabanga chili oil is Rwanda's best export. Hot as hell. I mean, I don't tend to go after hot food for the sake of it being hot. You know what I mean? But I do like a bit of spice in there. Do I prefer chicken or beef? It depends on the dish. It depends on my mood. Sometimes I like to eat beef, other times chicken, other times lamb, other times fish. Depends on the dish and my mood, the way it's cooked. Not really a city girl says AJ will become undisputed again before he retires. Well, he's never been undisputed. He's been unified before, but he's never been undisputed. Well, we'll see if he manages to become undisputed. It's what Usyk claims has been ordained by God. That's what he suggested in the interview he did. I'll get the thumbnail up here. Where is it? That's the thumbnail. That's the interview Usyk did with Daily Mail Boxing. And he basically said it's God's plan for AJ to become undisputed, with Usyk helping him to achieve it. And he says that will happen this year or next, AJ becoming undisputed. We'll see. I don't think it's going to happen. I think the best case scenario for AJ is he gets that fight with Luke Partridge, aka Tyson Fury, and he wins it. I think that's the best he can expect. Maybe they put a vacant belt on the line for that fight. But undisputed, I don't see it. If he did become undisputed, that would be one of the greatest redemption arcs ever in boxing history. From the point where AJ's at now to become undisputed, yeah, that's a crazy, crazy plot twist. Alex says, presumably after Usyk is retired. Well, yeah. Presumably, yeah. Usyk says he's only going to fight 3 more times, including the Rico fight. So I'm guessing he's factoring all this in. And maybe the way he spoke about it, he said 2026, 2027, AJ becomes undisputed. So maybe he's thinking he's going to give up a belt. AJ's going to fight Partridge for a belt or 2. And then in 2027, he'll collect the other belts. Maybe that's what Usyk has in his head. Not really a city girl says Usyk. Well, that's not how you spell his name. Maybe you've jumbled it up there, but will provide some grounding and maybe focal realignment, but AJ already has it in him to do it again. Look, the human will is a very formidable thing. Consistency is also very formidable. Even if you're not particularly good at something, if you're consistent and you don't stop, you'll get somewhere. Self-belief can get you places. But at some point, you reach a limit. Everybody does. And it's often when Father Time comes knocking. So AJ might have the greatest will in the world, even though I don't think he does, but let's just say he did. With the greatest will in the world, I still don't see him achieving Undisputed, I don't think. His body, his neurological state, the wear and tear, the miles on the clock, the knockout defeats, I don't see it. But let's wait and find out. It'll be like I said before, it'll be a hell of a redemption arc if AJ managed to become Undisputed from this position. I did say many, many years ago, some of you guys may remember this, that in order for AJ to actually fulfill his potential, he might need to be written off by everybody. And by everybody, I'm including myself. In order for AJ to actually finally show himself to be an elite big occasion fighter, because AJ's fought at elite level, but he hasn't performed or he hasn't won on a big occasion before, other than maybe like Klitschko against somebody who people were thinking this could go either way, you know? He hasn't really risen to the occasion at the in the very, very biggest fights, other than Klitschko. So, I mean, you could say Ruiz too, but Ruiz turned up in terrible shape. There's like a mental block there. There's a lack of supreme self-belief. And maybe it's all the pressure. Once everyone's written him off, once he's been chinned in front of everybody like he was against Dubois, sometimes, in some instances, that can actually relieve a fighter from all that pressure. Because he's like, well, the worst has happened to me now, so I don't need to be afraid of anything anymore. I don't need to be afraid of being exposed, because I've already been exposed. So from this position, psychologically, the only way is up. If I get chinned again, well, everyone's already seen that. So I can't be any more humiliated than I have been already. So that might free him of the pressure and unlock his latent potential. Anything is possible, but I don't think it's probable. And Circle says the issue is his chin. Guys with granite chins can just pull off crazy things. He doesn't have that. Yeah, like George Foreman. When he knocked out Michael Morrow, George Foreman had a great chin. So he pulled off something crazy because he could take a beating and then land a shot. Not really a city girl says, I hear you on Father Time. I hope he's going back in because he feels called to do it, or it's his goal and not because of industry pressure. He really doesn't owe us anything. Yeah. I mean, I've been calling for AJ to retire since the Dubois fight. Because, like you say, he doesn't owe us anything. He's made massive amounts of money. He's had a very successful career. It would be good to see him sail off into the sunset with his faculties intact, instead of risking more long-term injury. So, Yeah, he better be doing this for the right reasons. You know what I mean? I mean, even if he is doing it for the quote unquote right reasons, it doesn't mean it's the right thing, the best thing to do for his health. You know? I mean, it's possible AJ's fighting because of industry pressure, fighting on that is. It's also possible that he's fighting on because of pride. Because if you've seen AJ's interviews, especially over the past couple of years, he's spoken about how he's never managed to get the respect that he feels like he's deserved. And he might still be chasing that. And it can become a dangerous addiction, can't it? Chasing people's respect, chasing approval, chasing validation. You know, that can become a dangerous, dangerous path to go down where you're chasing validation, especially at this stage of your career. Anyway, peeps, I'm going to shut this stream down. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for joining the conversation. Special shout out to those who donated via Super Chat. They were Matt Borgerson, Adam Folks, Gaz, Glum Coyote, and D-Man. All right? So take care, you lot. Be good. I'll catch you on the other side. I'm out.